over to you to walk us through the project.
Please state anyone that comes to speak, please give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Robert Seeley. I'm a landscape architect with EDR, and our address is 217 Montgomery Street in Syracuse. So I'll give an overview of the project. This one, Em? Yeah. Oh, that's it. Zoom in. I don't know if I can zoom in anyhow. I think I'm there. There we go. So again, this is the site plan for the Children's Rising Center. The building is approximately 75,000 square feet and has multiple uses inside, which Madonna and Cal will describe. But as far as the site design, the building had to be maxed out to that size in order to fit the programmatic requirements and the feasibility for the project. So there we go. So the main entrance to the building is here. And then there's another entrance on this side for the Early Learning Center. The parking lots parallel Taylor Street and State Street. The spaces that we are requesting the variance for are these 16 here. As was mentioned, it was previously 18. We've since added an island here, which took up 2 spaces in order to get more green space in front of the building. The program, as far as circulation, is vehicles come in here. We have a drop-off zone here for parents and buses to drop kids off. It's well lit, it's centrally located, and the biggest component here as far as the site design was safety. So there's a lot of young kids and young families coming in and out of that entrance. So we have the drop-off there, lots of lighting, 30 bike racks, benches, and so we wanted to get as much of the parking as we could close to that entrance for safety. So in order to screen the parking, we have a privet hedge along both parking areas, as well as large trees and shrub plantings that will block views into the parking lot from the street. The site is bordered to the south on Taylor Street by the elevated railway, so that really cuts off any visual and pedestrian connections from the neighborhoods to the south. So we emphasize these corners to allow people to approach from the south and access the site. The total parking is 65 spaces, which borders both streets. And again, it's well vegetated and screened. And we point out the dumpster enclosure is at the north end. That will be enclosed with a masonry unit enclosure with gates. So that'll be hidden from view as well. Got a few photos here to show the character of the neighborhood. So this is looking down East Taylor Street. You can see the elevated railway on the south side. And then right about where these 2 trees are is where our proposed entrance would be.
Those trees will stay?
Some of them stay. This one, I believe, stays. These 2 come out, and then there's, I think, one behind this photo that stays and one beyond. So as much as we can, we're preserving the existing vegetation. The character of the neighborhood, this is to the west of our site on East Taylor Street. So just showing the character again, the elevated railway, parking along the streets here. So parking with no screening along the streets. This is looking towards Salina Street. So here's our site here, Taylor Street. You can see it's cut off and isolated by the elevated railway. So again, we're going to save as many of these trees as we can and then supplement it with new plantings on both street frontages to screen the parking. And this is the view from Townsend Street. So there's no access was to be allowed off of Townsend Street. There's no curb cuts allowed off of that street. And also wanted to point out this was a early master plan that was done. Showing that the north portion of the site would be donated to the city. Is that right?
You have a comment, please state your name and address again, please.
Madonna Millershin, King & King Architects, 358 West Jefferson Street. The goal is eventually in the next phase is there would be a neighborhood park going in, and then there's a connection road connecting the two streets. So essentially our site becomes sided by 4 roads.
Yeah, so the idea was to locate the entrances to the parking lots off of Taylor and State. Those were the really only other options because we can't come off of Townsend. So again, coming into the main entrance, a safe, secure drop-off area, visibility for parents, and then exiting out. Whoa. All right, chose right. And then exiting onto State Street. When do you want to talk about the programming of the building?
Hi, I'm Cal Quarters with the Allen Foundation, 484 South Salina Street, but I'm also an executive on loan to Blueprint 15, who's leading this project. So just wanted to kind of give a little context of why we have this configuration as we do. So this is a children's rising center, which is focused on children from ages 0 to 5, where there's 3 core components, and all of them are, again, hyper-focused on those youth. And we're concerned if parking has to be moved to the back of the building, that just like any school, parking is always in front of the building when there's youth, where there's concerns for safety and efficiency around how the children would navigate the building. There's also just a unique site that it is kind of surrounding 3 current streets and eventually 4 with that linear park that Madonna was just mentioning. But then if that site has to be moved, it would be facing that 25-foot railroad track, which we saw how that road is really narrow. So it kind of gives it like a tunnel feel, which is not really what we want to see. There's also, for us, like operational concerns. So we are working with a funder called New Market Tax Credits. We're working with these tax credits to try to secure $5.5 million of equity to get this project done. And moving that parking lot could result in a significant reduction of square footage for the building, which is a loss in programming for the youth. It's a loss in how many youth we'd be able to serve. It's a loss in about $150,000 annually in revenue for us. As well as, so with New Market Tax Credits, there's a 7-year compliance period. And over that compliance period, if this, again, with this configuration, if it has to be changed, there's about over $1 million loss in revenue. So that then puts this project at risk of securing those investors with New Market Tax Credits where we can't secure the $5.5 million for this project.
If this variance was not approved, you would lose all this, this project would totally be dead? Is that...
Not necessarily dead, but it could put things at risk. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody on the? Hearing none, is there anyone here that would wish to speak in favor of the project? Anyone to speak against the project? Hearing none, we will consider this part closed and we'll ask for a motion.
Do we have to do a seeker?
You do, and you might want to have some discussion before the motion so that you're vetting the presentation before, so you know what to make a motion on.
So before you do that, staff would just go through our analysis with the board members. So as a use variance, there are 4 criteria that we go through on these. And if you look in your packets, summarizing these, there's reasonable return analysis for number 1, number 2, unique circumstances analysis, number 3, neighborhood character analysis, and lastly, self-created hardship analysis. As a staff, we worked with the applicant and reviewed all this very thoroughly. Our overall analysis is collectively supports the conclusion that, the hardship is not self-created. It really is from pre-existing physical constraints along with regulatory limitations and the necessity to address community needs effectively moving forward. So obviously you can go through all those criteria and the specifics after seeker when and if we do make a motion. There are some recommended conditions of approval in your packet that we would like included with that. So if there's any questions, happy to answer that. Anything that you guys have before you deliberate?
Well, one issue, there really was no official financial analysis of the loss, other than hearsay. Like say, I'm going to lose $5 million. Well, how? Or
They have
That's,
Well,
it's in their application.
yeah, I thought,
And you have to discuss that, whether you think it's substantial evidence. That's the whole point of having discussion before you make a motion. But their application does detail some numbers pertaining to what they're talking about.
that's right.
and it breaks it down to rental income, for instance, where money could be lost, and
I did see that in the packet. But
Yeah.
more
But, yeah, and if they reduce the size of the facility, it's going to impact on the number of people they could serve, the money that they could get for rental, et cetera. So I thought that was, to me, it was explained clearly enough.
and down to the funding source as well, I think is specific enough.
All this is on page 18 in your packet if you want to look at some of the details from the applicant under each 4 criteria.
I think the neighborhood character portion is interesting as well, because it's very much a neighborhood because of the project as a whole, whose character in some ways is in transition. I think it speaks to that well as also.
Any more discussion on this?
No, I am satisfied with what's in the packet, and then
Does anyone believe that this this variance will cause any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
no.
With no one being concerned that this will be a moderate to large impact under seeker, I recommend that you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to fill out the Part 3 EAF accordingly.
I can make a motion that we adopt a negative seeker and fill out the portion on,
A motion for a negative seeker
Seek-
declaration.
and I could stop there, okay? I make a
Second.
motion that we make a negative declaration of the seeker.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against it? No. Unanimous approval. May I have a motion to approve or disapprove the variance, please?
A motion to approve. Going through the test, I think it gets into specifics as far as reasonable return relating to potential funding that could be lost. And I'm going to motion to approve the variance contingent upon staff's recommendations. I think unique circumstances, some of the physical landscape as far as the railroad, the nature of the project dealing with youth, and the project as a whole with the neighborhood character very much in transition, which also addresses neighborhood character. I think this is in line with much of the other stuff that's going on. And I agree with staff's conclusion that it's not a self-created hardship.
Can you go to page 11 in your packet and just motion that with the conditions recommended, just read 1 and 2 out, please? Thank you.
So
On the top of page 11 in your packet, just so it's clear that these are conditions of approval and not just general conditions of a variance.
So the motion would be to approve the variance contingent upon the recommendations that the use variance shall adhere to the general use variance conditions, which is number 1, and number 2, that the landscaping buffer along East Taylor and South Townsend Street shall be continuously maintained and vegetation replaced when necessary.
And
I'll second.
any comment, anything to add?
No.
Okay. May we have the vote? Do we, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Obviously, if no one's voting against it. The motion is passed. Congratulations. And we have any new business?
That's it.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
When I